Welcome to Fresh Off the Set. I'm Carrie Hawker-Diaz.
And I'm Laura Murray.
I'm so excited for today's interview. So Sarah talked to Amy Gibson. You may recognize her from The Young and the Restless, General Hospital, Happy Days. She's an incredible woman.
She really is, and she is a hair loss advocate. She is really one that is out there talking to people. Sometimes people lose their hair, whether it be after they're pregnant or there's an underlying disease, and she's really out there talking about this, how it is not that uncommon, and if it has happened to you, you're not alone.
You're not alone. She talks about her personal story. I mean, she's had so many media appearances on, she's even featured in People magazine, so it's really incredible to hear about this, and yeah, so you don't feel alone.
Yep, I think that's it, and she has so many other great things to say. What do you say we take a listen?
Let's listen.
I am so excited to welcome our guest on today for this episode of Fresh Off the Set. Amy Gibson is here chatting with us. Amy, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me. It's great to be here.
Absolutely. And you are so accomplished. You are a voice for empowerment. You've done a lot of different things, but kind of give us some of your background.
Okay. Well, I was a soap star for many, many years in daytime television, from Love of Life to Young and the Restless, General Hospital, tons of nighttime. And then I started losing my hair at 13 and a half, kept it quiet for many, many, many years throughout my entire television career.
Wow.
And ended up turning lemons into lemonades, as they say, and having to find my own peace of mind. So created a way to have, to really live that out for myself and to live normally. So I then found a way to open a company called createdhair.com, which has been open for 21 years, where we really walk a woman through her hair loss issues. I am a cancer hair loss expert and alopecia expert. I'm a wig designer, an accessory designer. I'm an author of Sex, Wigs, and Whispers, Love and Life with Hair Loss.
I love that name.
That's
so much fun. I love it. Yes.
Just came out with some products you can find on Amazon. I do like Wig Secure, which is the first reversible band that's approved by the #1 cancer surgeon in the country. I have all kinds of products out, the rescue bag, all kinds of stuff. So basically what I do now is I try to find out what doesn't work for me.
Mm-hmm.
I make it. So I figure if it doesn't work for me, it must not be working for other people. I have to find a solution for this issue, right?
Yeah.
So I keep on creating stuff. So that's, my world is really spent with clients who are either facing their own mortality and want to really get through this cancer treatment and get to the other side of healing, but do it in a way where they can feel like the woman they've always been. And that's what I try to give them. And in the interim, enough education to not only them, but other people, like all my tutorials on Created Hair by Amy Gibson on YouTube, that when you just subscribe, you can get, 78 videos I just downloaded, which basically take any woman through what they need to know. Because in this industry, it's very difficult when you're first diagnosed or you first start losing your hair. What do I do?
Right. Absolutely. I can't even imagine. And I love as you're describing this, you're obviously touching on, you are an entrepreneur, but then these personal experiences, you can speak to that. And it sounds like you infuse everything you do with compassion. And I want to touch a little on how hair loss can be so tied to your self-image. Let's talk about that.
Well, let me ask you a question then. Did you ever see a VO5 commercial?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
Did you play with Barbie doll when you were younger?
I did. I loved Barbie. I was definitely that girl growing up.
Great. I end my argument. The problem is that, not the problem, but I think the answer to that is because we grow up with these images, these subliminal messages. How about you're worth it? L'Oreal, right?
Right.
So,
yes.
What does that mean? That you have hair so you're worth it? Like, what is that?
Right.
So although it worked for them and it was a great campaign, and I know their intention was to create empowerment when you use our product, I have to tell you, for the woman that's going through hair loss and they look at that commercial, do they really feel worth it if they can't buy that because they have no hair?
Right.
So I think the problem stems from our really young ages. And, it's the same thing that women go through with finding the prince on the horse and they're going to, take me away and everything is going to be fine and I don't have to really work for it. So that's where it starts, right?
Right.
Now, the problem with hair loss is, I don't know about you, but I never learned about it in school. I never learned about it till I went through it. But most of my clients have learned about it either from something they're going through, whether it be thyroid issues, hair thinning, menopause, stress, whatever, or the fact that a family member got ill and they lost their hair, and all of a sudden they had to figure out, well, what's wrong with them?
And
right?
they're just searching for answers, right?
And they're searching. So what happens? You go on the internet, and then what? There's this plethora of information. How do you get through this? And who's really telling the truth? What I have a problem with in this industry, and that I've spoken about before, and created some enemies, but I don't care. I'm a Sag. I have absolutely no filter. I
love it.
You know, I mean, like, I say what's going on, and I'm sorry if it it offends you.
You're unapologetic, but you're getting.
I am unapologetic.
I love it. You're getting good, important messages out there, as you said. People need to hear this.
Well, thank you, but this is a very vulnerable industry,
right?
And unfortunately, there are some people, not a lot, most people that go into having a wig store and dealing with medical hair loss go in for the right intention. Either they've gone through it themselves, or they've had a family member like I've had be stricken with cancer and passed, or at least be stricken with all the hair loss issues, and they go into it really with good intentions. So there are those that go into it knowing that there are very vulnerable people that will go buy anything that's on your rack, even if their hair is brown.
Right.
They'll buy the blonde you're going to give them because you've told them.
And they're probably desperate, right? They
really
want to feel
desperate.
normal
They're desperate. They're feeling lost. They're feeling complete confusion. And I have an issue with that, which is why I try to educate as much as I can. When you walk in, or I do a Zoom, I Skype and Zoom 3 hours a day, 3 days a week with women all over the world. I've done it for 22 years now. And, if you don't know what you're buying and you don't know why you're buying it, meaning if you only have some hair loss on top, you don't need a wig, right? You can do something called a topper. But if you don't know you need the topper and you don't know why you only need a topper, then why would you buy one? If it's because you don't have that much hair loss and this is your solution, great, now I have one. However, if you're going through alopecia where the hair is releasing at the crown, I will never do a topper for you, because that's only going to pull the hair even more by clipping it in.
Right.
So we have to think of the other solutions by taping in, or the other things that I try to teach at createdhair.com. So in our salon, I really try to walk that woman through it. But for the woman that goes on the internet, there's great stuff on YouTube. There really is. But where do you look?
It's incredible the resources we now have available at our fingertips.
Yes.
Like you said, with the advent of just being able to go online, and maybe people still don't know that they can utilize those resources, but I think it's such a game changer. And when it comes to choosing a good wig, I love that you're talking about really personalizing it to people, because obviously there isn't just a catch-all solution. Everyone really has these individual needs. Do you have some tips for choosing a good wig?
Totally. You got to know that nothing's going to be right. Okay. You got to know, you have to know that when you get it out of the box, it needs to be thinned. A lot of times it needs some styling. Now, if you're buying a synthetic piece, a lot of times those are pre-styled, but they are made for the masses, right? And for some people who've just lost a little bit of hair, all of a sudden you come with this big wig. It's like, hello. You got to think of discretion. And again, if you don't have a stylist that can thin it out, you can always call me. They can call me. They can send it into my stylist. They'll thin it and send it back, or they can watch on YouTube. I purposely show them with the stylist, how do you thin out your wig? So the person living in Arkansas who doesn't have access to this. I also offer, 15-minute consultations for free. This is not all about the money. It's about, what can I do to really complete my intention of why I'm doing this? Now, how do you pick a good wig? First of all, if you've just recently lost your hair, interestingly enough, within a very short amount of time, we actually forget what it looked like. We forget, did it have a layer? Did it not? Was it really that blonde?
Right.
You want to take your best photo with you to the store. So you say, can you match this?
That's a good tip.
This is kind of what I want to. Yeah. And then you also want to ask up front, listen, I know the difference between height and no height. What does that mean? If somebody wants something that's flatter on top, right? Not with volume on top, it's called a silk top, or silk drawn, or French drawn. You want to ask for that type of base. If you want height, you want to ask for monotop or monofilament top. That's made in a way to give you some height. So you also want to take a little measuring tape, soft measuring tape. You want to start at your eyebrow. Go all the way around evenly. Don't let it go and drop at your nape or go up above. Go evenly all the way around till you meet that eyebrow again and get your sizing. That is key. When you
Amy,
go
I'm
into that
learning so
store.
much. This is amazing.
You are?
I
You
am.
are?
Yeah, I would have never, I mean, but this is so helpful, this information, you know, like, and this is just one example, what you're talking about, people, you know, having these preferences of whatever makes them feel their best, and, you know, probably going through one of the most vulnerable times of their life. You know, the fact that you offer these resources is so incredible. Obviously, hair loss can cause emotional stress. Can you give some examples of maybe people that you've seen, or instances where that emotional stress is really just been so helped by your services?
Let's see. I think the most impactful one was not only stress, but also from somebody that was a burn victim.
Mm.
And she comes to mind immediately. And not only had she lost all her hair from there, but when it was coming back, it kept falling out.
Mm-hmm.
And it was because she was so stressed that we calmed her down by starting to meditate. Let's take some biotin with zinc, with copper. Let's do, a lot of times they're in prenatal vitamins. And that will be a great hair grower. It's a great hair growth little tip. But finding her the right wig kind of calmed her down. And suddenly, not right away, I'm going to be honest, but within like 5 months, we started seeing all this little bit of hair all over the place. I'm like, oh my God, look what's happening.
Wow. Yes.
Or
yeah.
the woman, I tell you who has a lot of stress are my college kids.
Mm.
So they're under such stress. And when you can calm them down with giving them a good topper, so now they can hang with their friends and being like everybody else, or go on a date successfully, all of a sudden their hair starts growing again. Because
Wow.
it becomes a vicious cycle, right? You get nervous, you get stressed. Oh my goodness, now more hair falls out, you get more stressed. You got to try to calm it down somewhere.
Like you
gotta
said, yeah, it's a vicious cycle, you know. You're in a
It
very
is.
stressful environment in school. I wouldn't have thought of younger people, but
Oh my God, I
obviously,
have so
you know,
many.
do you? Yes, that's
Yes,
really
I have
important.
a lot of college kids. I really do. I think women that are going through divorce and having to hold a job with 2 kids, I have a lot of those.
Wow.
That's extremely stressful. And, they don't even realize their hair is falling out because their energy and their intention and their focus is on taking care of everybody else. They forget.
Right.
And
right.
all of a sudden they look and they go, when did this happen? Let's
It-
get a handle on it. And the minute you do, oh my gosh, the minute you do, it's like, oh God, that's me again.
Right.
I had no idea I had left me for so long.
It's so powerful, and it's truly rebuilding confidence. You know, what you do, it's rebuilding their confidence and making people feel like their lives are back. I wanted to talk about navigating dating. How can we bring this up? I know, the fun stuff. How can we bring this up, when we're talking to partners, and we're maybe dealing with hair loss? Some people might be a little nervous about navigating that or not even know where to start. So what are some tips you have for that?
Okay, well, before I got married and before I met him on Match.com,
Love it.
I was never public to the point. I had gone, that's not true. I had gone on shows by this time, and I'd been in People magazine, which kind of blew the lid off. And then I kind of went quiet for a while, and I realized there were a lot of men that really didn't know. Like on my dates, they had no idea who I was. So I decided to lie. And I would say, oh, you know what? Oh, I got these extensions. My head is so sore. Do me a favor, please don't touch my hair. And they go, oh, okay, sure, no problem. Okay. Here's the secret with dating. Until you have a handle on it, bluff it. What does that mean? Get my book and I'll show you. But aside from that, like right now, because I take you through all the steps.
I love it.
Right now, there's a concept of somebody in the industry that has this third date concept that you must be honest by the third date.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think so.
No.
I think you're honest when that person is enough to accept you for anything. And that takes some time, right? Can I give do I have a minute to give an example of something?
Yeah.
Okay.
Please.
It's like, this is kind of a gross example, but it's the only way I can say it. So say you go out with this guy, right? And this happened to me, by the way. And there's so much chemistry at the table. I already have the wedding dress, right? I mean, that's how women get. We future everything.
We do. It's such a thing. Definitely. You're visualizing it. Yes.
I'm
Things are
telling
going
you,
well.
I'm looking at what my kids would look like. He has green eyes. And like right in the middle, he makes a comment about his mother to me, like a really derogatory comment. I went, ooh, that's weird. I don't think I like that. But I kept looking at him, and like, of course, my groin was all over the place. I'm thinking, who cares right now? I'm like totally into this guy. Okay, this is the grossest thing. About 20 minutes later, he starts to scratch something that he talks about a pimple.
Huh.
And I'm like, okay. And here's the interesting thing. All that chemistry that was happening started to diminish. Right.
I don't
But
blame
here's
you.
the secret. Here's the secret. I thought to myself, you know, had I known him longer, I would have probably gotten him back with his mother, because that's usually what I'm known for doing.
Are you?
Yeah, and like I would have probably picked the pimple because I like getting the white stuff out. But I would have been better about accepting it versus throwing it at me at the first date, or when you meet me.
That's kind of
The
aggressive.
same thing,
Yeah.
The same thing with dating. I believe you learn the steps you need to learn to be in control so that you can date until you're ready to tell him. Now, women make a big mistake by thinking that being on the phone with somebody for 2 weeks is the connection of life. And then they have a date for lunch and they have a date for dinner. And oh my God, they bonded. Now I can tell you all about, my hair. That's a big mistake. They use that to bond because they think that's the most personal thing. No. That's just giving up your power, my dear. You hold on to that power until he deserves to know your secret.
Preach.
See, to me, my hair loss is a gift. I'm giving you a gift to let you in.
Right.
It's not for me to use. So, I really have to tell you about my hair. That's the worst thing, because men don't take emotion very well.
Right.
You got to, if you're in control, and a smile will take you a mile, right?
Yes.
If you're in control and you can smile your way through it. So when I remember I was ready to tell this guy once, and I said to him, so let me ask you something, like, how do you like my hair? He goes, oh, I love it. I said, really? I said, it's really interesting because I don't have any. You can have it though. Is that all right with you? And meanwhile, I smiled, and he goes, what?
I said, that's amazing.
But I was
how you
smiling.
handled that. You were smiling. You were confident.
I was totally in
Yes.
control and confident, right? So he goes, what? I said, that isn't a problem, is it? Or is it? He said, well, wait a minute. And now I had several dates with him, by the way.
Yeah.
He said, I need a moment to process this.
Right.
So I took out my watch. And I said, are you done? Do you have any
had the little
questions?
stopwatch. You're like, time's a ticking. You're going to give me, an answer whether you're comfortable or not. And if you're not, maybe, we aren't a good match. Right. It's okay. But I love
or
that
you're not ready.
Right.
Or you're not ready, and you need to, and that's okay, because sometimes they take time. Listen, I dated a guy once that I knew for many years, and he was engaged, and then they broke up, and I waited 2 years before telling him that I liked him. And I knew him for years and years and years. We went out for 2 months, and out of nowhere, he turns to me and he goes, I have to talk to you about something. Amy, I know you're going to say this is superficial, but I'm a hair guy. And Susan, his ex-girlfriend, had the VO5 hair. Okay. And he said, I'm having a problem with the hair. I just can't get beyond the wig thing.
Huh.
And I'd never had
Wow.
anybody say that to me. I said, well, listen, I'm okay with that. Then you're not the guy for me. Because the guy for
Absolutely
me will
not.
be so much deeper than this.
Yes.
That you obviously have no idea who I am in my soul.
No.
And that's okay. 10 years goes by, right?
Right.
He had married a real manufactured looking chick. I ran into him. She had a huge diamond on her, the whole thing going, perfect boobies, great. And not that anything's wrong with plastic surgery, because I certainly have done it. But she took him for everything. Right? I bump into 10 years later, and he has a Mustang now instead of the Rolls Royce. And he turns to me at this party and he goes, I really get it. He said, I made the biggest mistake of my life, was leaving you.
You bet you did, mister.
Right. He goes, are you serious with this guy that you're with? Well, he turns around. I turned to him and I said, remember something. I never, ever go back. Ever, ever. And we're
Way
still
to
friends
go.
to this, but
You're still friends,
still
but
friends
you
to this
knew
day.
you knew your worth, and
Right.
and he obviously wasn't ready for that depth. And you are, and I think it's so important for women to know their value and their worth. And I think sometimes perhaps if you're dealing with this hair loss, people maybe forget they're feeling emotional stress. They really need to rebuild their confidence. And I think it's incredible that you offer all these resources. And just talking to you, I love how you infuse humor into it, because isn't that so
Thank you.
important for every situation to really have a sense of humor about everything? Because no one has a handbook for life, right?
Well, especially with this, you find your way through it. And also, let me tell you something. It's not like everything I'm saying is going to work for everybody. It just works for a lot of them.
Right.
It works for a lot of women. And I truly believe that if you find the right things to bluff, if you know that the wind is going to blow, or if he has a convertible, be smart, bring a hat, okay?
Yes.
These are all the ways you're not going to get caught.
Right.
Being vulnerable. You want to stay empowered. If you're going to go swimming and you know that you're wearing a wig, you better make sure that thing is taped down,
Right.
or you just don't dive. Or get one of my water wigs. But I mean, you got to figure out, okay, how am I going to do this? Look online. I'll give you the answer to it. These are things. But most of the time, if you know that, say you're having a third date with a guy. Oh, this is a good one. You go to the movies, right? You know when people walk behind the aisle and they catch your hair sometimes?
Right. Right.
Okay, when
Be
you sit down
aware.
at the movies, right, when you sit down at that seat at the movies, make sure you bring your hair from the back forward.
Oh,
That it's not like hanging over.
right.
And if it does move, do what I did on a date with a guy. The first time this happened, it got caught, like the person was walking by.
Right.
And I kind of purposely dropped a napkin to pick it up. And I then fixed my wig down below. I just kind of taped, made sure the tape was down. And I kind of said, he never knew.
That's amazing. Amy, you are such a joy to talk to. You have so many good
You're
tips.
so sweet.
Thank you. I've just really enjoyed our conversation. I know that all this information, you have so many empowering, humorful, just amazing points for people that will affect their lives. Where can we go to follow you?
Oh, you're so sweet. First of all, Created Hair by Amy Gibson on Instagram or on my Facebook, createdhair.com.
Okay.
And you can always send me an email to Amy at created, created hair.com. And you can say, listen, I heard you today, right?
Yes, on Fresh Off the Set on our podcast.
Right.
Yes.
You talked about a 15-minute consult. Can we schedule? And then just tell me what the issue is in the email with your phone number. And I'll schedule it with you. Destiny will schedule it, my assistant. And make sure that you have a tape measure with you. I want to get to everything we have to get to if I'm going to work with you. And I so appreciate you letting me help.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for having